Ceann Comhairle gur mágat. I want to start by saying that People Before Profit send solidarity to women across the world who are suffering from the absolute brutality of war, particularly in the Ukraine and Yemen, in Afghanistan, in Palestine, indeed in Syria and beyond. And wars, like all emergencies, whether in housing, in health, poverty, climate change, always disproportionately affect women and children indeed the most. And of the 365 days a year, we focus on this incredible equality only one day a year. It's really remarkable how this inequality has been perpetuated down through at this stage, decades and centenaries. Women's oppression, sexism and misogyny stem from an economic system that devalues the labour of women in the home and assigns us to the role of raising the next generation for as cheap as possible to that system. More than 100 years on from the first International Women's Day, our world may look different, but the issues that have dominated are still the same today. Unaffordable childcare, inadequate resources for the whole care sector, for family care, and in particular for home carers. Unequal access to health care, and especially to reproductive health, to abortion rights. Levels of wages, always poorer, conditions poorer, predominantly in female work, in the care sector, in nursing, in retail and in hospitality. These are the real issues facing women. And whatever progress we've made in the intervening years, we still have these problems and these inequalities. And we still prioritise the needs of an economic system over human needs, particularly the needs of women and children. So what the Russian revolutionary movement set out to achieve 100 years ago, when Clara Zetkin named March the 8th as International Women's Day, is still unfinished business. International Women's Day has a history that's based on opposition to war and to a capitalist system that breeds war and breeds oppression. It is, in fact, Working Women's Day, in a struggle for equal pay, for the right to vote and for the abolition of the slavery of workers. I don't think down through the years most working women were concerned with the number of them who were on the boards of corporations, but rather with the inequity in society and the fight to end poverty. In this country, we've been dealing with the legacy of the past systemic abuse of women in one form or another, and these issues have dominated the last two Dáils. The 8th Amendment, childcare costs, mother and baby homes, the lack of redress, Magdalene laundries, symphysiotomy, cervical check, gender-based violence, the lack of refuse spaces, and the economic struggles that women have faced, including the Debenhams workers, significantly nurses and teachers, who are mainly women. But I want to take time to finally deal with the National Maternity Hospital. The historic role of the Church in subjugating women and their reproductive lives has to be put to an end. And if we do nothing else in this Dáil, we must ensure that the National Maternity Hospital will be publicly owned and controlled. State are paying for it, over £1 billion, but it is not going to be owned by the state. And it is still unclear how all the procedures that should be legally available to women and other genders will be available under this arrangement. The sinister and disingenuous attempt to paint campaigners as delaying this when it really comes from the religious orders who refuse to hand over the freehold to the state. So I think we need to see that deal that Stephen Donnelly is allegedly due to sign off on, and we need a proper free of church-influenced national reproductive care in the hands of publicly owned and controlled. And for that reason, we need a full Dáil debate on this issue.